I am Ivory Evans, aka Buck, aka Zilla, aka A1 Ivory. All of these things, Zilla Ruffin, you know. And the reason why I say I am is because of the creative realm in which we were all created by a big creator. We were created to create if we believe it or not. Now, I just happen to believe this. Now, all of these things that I am, that comes from one of my favorite scriptures. The primary book of choice for my belief system is the Bible, the Bible. The good man Paul, he said, Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 9:22, I became all things to all men. So a question I had to ask myself is, if I became all things to all men, then I first should become all things to myself. So it's two wolves in us, one I love and one I hate. The one I feed will dominate. So in this creation of me expressing myself, all of these things are grounded in a godly principle, which breeds forth cohesiveness. I've learned that throughout my process of serving, because if we go talk about the mighty Yahshua, he also said, for references purposes, if you need it, Matthew 23, the greatest among us will be a servant. And he said, do not call you these things. Do not call yourself priest. Do not call yourself rabbi. Do not call anyone father but the Father in heaven. So if my belief system is tied into me recreating myself over and over to be all these things to me, they all are governed from the same hub. And yet this creates a universal type approach to, help just give humanity hope. I have, and I proudly admit this, and I lost everything but hope at one point in my life, and in that search to answer myself in some egotistical ways of why. What I've learned about this journey that I'm on is to be very, very mindful of my feelings, because my feelings will tell me I'm at capacity. Yet, most of us, because I was, Biggie and Claudia, mom, I have parents, still together, 47 years later, two sisters, Ebony and Courtney. I love y'all. That's just something I always told them, I always do. But my point is, I had a father and a mother to communicate and express my feelings. It was darn near mandatory for me to look my father in the face and tell him how I'm feeling. Now, it wasn't that, all men do this, or, forget that, toughen up and keep going. No. It was a slow down and think of, why do you feel this way? Because our feelings are merely just a navigation system for us to go somewhere logically in our mind to seek the answer of self. The spirit in us, it can be reincarnated. That's the whole parable of why Yahshua rose on the third day. Reincarnation, the ego can never be reincarnated. The ego begins and ends with death. It just does. Now, you can be proactive with this ego, and instead of reactive with this ego, and put those proactive energy towards something positive that could reincarnate the spirit to recreate yourself in another avenue in which you're searching, seeking, hoping, wishing, wanting, whatever. You fill your own cup up. Because once again, these feelings, when we're at capacity, we cannot add anything else on top of our current state of capacity. Think of it as a tub or a cup. A tub. I had to go when I was little and run my bath water, and sometimes I'd be playing my games and I forget the water is on, so I would run in there real quick, and the tub was all the way at the top, and I knew, man, that my mom was gonna be so mad if this tub overflowed. Think of yourself at the same tub. You cut the water off, and now you sitting there. What do? This tub is still this tub. This water is this water, and it's at capacity. Well, you reach down in there. Don't add anything else. Actually, be real still as you put your hand in that water to reach down to get that drain, and you unplug. Life, from my understanding of recreating myself in all these wonderful avenues of being who I really am, boldly under the principles of God, it's not so much about attachment or attraction. If you're at your capacity, I urge you to, along with me, detach or subtract to create more room. When you unplug that tub, that drain in that tub, the water starts to flow down. You start to feel more safe, and you start to feel more, you know what, it's not going to overflow. I'm not going to make a mess. It's the same thing with our thoughts and our minds and our spirits and our bodies. We're at capacity. Say that, own that. Your feelings are valid to you as well as mine are. So my purpose of me doing all this to say, let's detach and subtract from the things that are not of us is simply to make room for what God said about us. We were called, predestined, before he foreknew us. All these things before we was born, we were complete and whole. You take in today's time as much, if you take a 3 or 4 year old child before life hit them or perverted them in any shape, form, or fashion, they are at their fullest divine capacity more than us when life hit us, and yet we chose to use other avenues to, figure it out. That's when fear crept in, and two things about these wolves in us: one I love, one I hate. We can say one is fear and one is love. Well, the big God that I serve says fear and love cannot coexist. So if I'm in a fearful state when this thing happened to me at a 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever age it happened, if it happened divinely, I, even at 42 years old of age now, have to go back to that spot to understand and accept those things. Serenity, I cannot change. And now I apply practices and principles in a loving, not a fearful way, to get over those, to be able to create a safe environment for myself first. So all of these names that I am, all of these things, the we, us, we, us, they, them, right? And that's just a believer or non-believer. Big God said, let there be no division among us. The us acronym, unified souls. We are one. That's the law of divine connection. Number 1 universal law. So in this, if we are here together, what's the only way that we can, in an immediate fashion, give somebody hope? 1, demonstrate over debate what you say you believe. Don't talk about it, be about it. Next, ask that person questions or listen so they can feel safe to form their own self-disciplines, because self-discipline is self-love. To be able to reincarnate themselves, forgive themselves, love more, create more, and just be. So if anything, that I would say about me is I'm a bond servant, because the greatest among us will serve. And I believe in y'all like that. And for sure, for this reason I was born. Polarity. Of course, this is the reason I die. Thank you.